Nice launch trajectory and countdown net. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8.
Launch auto sequence has started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon separation confirmed. Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Stage 1 is complete. Counting down to T0 at about T-2, the Merlin 1D engines will light for liftoff.
The vehicle continues to be healthy, and Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues. Currently, the weather is green, and the range is ready to support a T0 at 4:55 p.m. Eastern Time. We have a 90% probability of launch today based on weather, and in these last few minutes, Falcon 9 is performing the final health checks on its primary communications, avionics, and propulsion systems in preparation for flight. We'll have that LOX load call out complete here shortly.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
With Stage 2 LOX load complete, that gets us inside the 2-minute marker to countdown. Checkouts on the second stage thrust vector control have passed. We'll get to engine gibbling and wiggle test on the first stage much closer before ignition. At the time of launch, the International Space Station will be flying 260 statute miles over the border of Mexico and Guatemala.
Now, we are just about 20 seconds from T-1 minute where the Falcon 9 will be in startup and the onboard flight computers will take control of the countdown. Dragon will also transition to internal power at this time.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
We are now in startup.
Dragon is in countdown.
And Dragon is in countdown. Range remains go for launch, waiting for that final go from the SpaceX launch director.
SpaceX launch director, go for launch.
You heard that call out. The launch director has given that final go. All systems are go for launch of Falcon 9 and the CRS-30 mission.
T-minus 30 seconds. Seconds. Minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff at a Dragon return to Space Launch Complex 40.
Tons of science and cargo take flight on NASA's SpaceX 30th Commercial Resupply Services mission. Falcon 9 at 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Pitching down range, hearing good calls of performance. Nominal trajectory as Falcon 9 and Dragon arc out to the northeast.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Slick 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And during ascent, we will tilt or gimbal our engines, guiding the rocket into what we call a gravity turn. Through this turn, the vehicle is flying both up and horizontally away from the launch pad. Now, this rocket typically needs to go about 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to make it to orbit and avoid being pulled back down to Earth. So moments ago, we did throttle the engines down in preparation for max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure, in just a couple seconds.
Max Q.
There was that call out for max Q. And coming up, we have a few events in quick succession, starting with main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, second engine startup 1, and the start of the boost back burn for the first stage.
MVAC is chilling.
There's the call out. The MVAC engine on the second stage is chilling in, getting ready for startup. Now, the first of these events is main engine cutoff, or MECO, where the 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage will shut down in preparation for stage separation, which is where stage 1 and 2 will separate from each other, with the first stage making its way back down to Earth and the second stage performing second engine start 1, which is where we ignite that single Merlin vacuum engine on board the second stage. Now, the boost back burn will then start on the first stage. This burn helps assist the vehicle flip back around and reorient itself back to land. MECO starting in just a couple seconds.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
Stand by condition. Stage 1 boost back startup.
There you heard and saw those events happening back to back. Awesome views of the first stage flipping back around as it performs its boost back burn. Again, we had main engine cutoff of the first stage separation, second engine start on the second stage, and that first stage doing the awesome flip as it starts its boost back burn. Now, this burn is a little under a minute, so we have about 20 seconds left in this burn. And about 3 minutes after that, we will have 2 additional burns on the first stage to prepare to land back at landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. We are at T plus 3 minutes and 30 seconds here in today's mission. CRS-30 is SpaceX's
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
There is that confirmation for the boost back shutdown of the first stage.
Nominal trajectory.
And a nominal trajectory. As again, CRS-30 is SpaceX's 27th launch this year. And we are coming up on the entry burn of the first stage, as well as second engine cutoff. On those live views of the first stage, you can see the attitude control system creating those beautiful puffs of white gas. And that's nitrogen from the cold gas thrusters of the attitude control system. And around T plus 6 minutes and 30 seconds, you should see on your screen the first stage's entry burn. And for the entry burn, we relight 3 of the M1D engines on the first stage, starting with the center engine 9, followed shortly by engines 1 and 5, which slows the vehicle down as it passes back into the Earth's atmosphere. We need to slow down to reduce re-entry forces, which helps us to recover and reuse the first stage. The second stage on the right, you can see beautiful views of the Earth in the background and that Merlin vacuum engine heating up as it performs its burn. Again, we are a little over a minute to the start of our first stage entry burn. You can see the first stage on those live views on your left with 2 of the 4 hypersonic grid fins deployed, helping steer that first stage down as it makes its way back home to Earth. Now you can see the telemetry on the bottom left and right hands of your screen. The right-hand side is the second stage carrying our Dragon capsule, and the left-hand side is the first stage. You can see the second stage speeding up as it is performing its burn, and the first stage is coming back down towards the Earth's atmosphere with the altitude decreasing. Really cool views from the attitude control system of the first stage. Just about 20 seconds from the start of our first stage entry burn, we should be able to see really cool views of that burn from those views on the left of your screen.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
There is the start of the stage 1 entry burn. And this is a 3-engine burn on the first stage of Falcon 9.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
There you
Stage
saw
1 FTS has safed.
really cool views of the end of the first stage entry burn and the
Both
flight
stages nominal trajectory.
and the call outs for nominal trajectory and the flight termination system being saved. Now the first stage that is supporting today's mission has just performed this entry burn for the 6th time. Falcon 9 is the world's first orbital class reusable rocket, and this allows SpaceX to refly the most expensive parts of the rocket, which in turn drives
Stage 1 transonic.
down the cost of access to space. Now coming up, we have that landing burn starting in just a few moments. There's the start
Stage 1 landing burn.
of that landing burn. Really cool view of Cape Canaveral coast.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Wow, wonderful views of that first stage
Stage
landing.
1 landing confirmed.
Back at landing zone 1, looking pristine there, and there you have it.
Guidance.
That landing marks SpaceX's 286th recovery of an orbital class rocket, including the first stage landings for Falcon
Stage
9
2 FTS has safed.
and Heavy. You heard that call out that stage 2 FTS is safe, getting ready for second engine cutoff here in just under 10 seconds.
MVAC shutdown.
There is that second engine cutoff with the MVAC shutdown call out, waiting for confirmation of a good orbital
Nominal
insertion.
orbit insertion.
There is that confirmation of good orbit. It looks like we are on track for Dragon separation in just a few minutes, just before the T+12 minute mark. It has been a great launch so far. As I mentioned earlier, today's launch was the first for our upgraded Dragon to be flying from Slick 40 after we stopped flying the older version of Dragon back in 2020. Just for our growing launch manifest, we've made new upgrades to Space Launch Complex 40, including a brand new tower and access arm, which enables more efficient late load operations as well as human spaceflight missions. Now, with these updates, we are on our way to having 2 launch pads capable of supporting flying humans to space. You can see really cool views of the MVAC engine and the Earth in the background from the second stage. And in addition to flying cargo to support crew on board the space station, SpaceX also enables researchers the opportunity to fly critical science to orbit on Dragon, which has carried over 1,000 research experiments to and from low Earth orbit and the International Space Station since 2012. Enabling research in space paves the way for us to explore beyond Earth and make life multiplanetary. And now we are waiting for Dragon to separate from Falcon 9's second stage. To recap so far, we had an on-time liftoff at 4:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Everything has proceeded nominally so far. Stage separation occurred at about 2.5 minutes into flight, and that was followed by a successful landing of Falcon 9's first stage at landing zone 1 back in Cape Canaveral, Florida. That was the 6th landing for that particular Falcon 9 first stage. And for those of you following along, this Dragon capsule has also supported CRS-22, CRS-24, and CRS-27, which were 3 additional cargo resupply missions to the International Space Station. At about T+8.5 minutes, we had a successful second engine cutoff, followed by confirmation of a good orbital insertion. The vehicle is now coasting with Dragon attached, and we are just about 30 seconds away from spacecraft separation. We're seeing great views from the second stage with the Earth and the Sun in the background as it prepares to separate Dragon so that Dragon can begin its journey to the International Space Station. Just a few seconds from payload deployment. You can see Dragon floating away there. It's very exciting to see. Dragon is drifting away from Falcon 9 second stage there, confirming good spacecraft separation. Now, SpaceX is honored to be a part of NASA's Commercial Resupply Services Initiative to deliver critical cargo to the space station, and we thank NASA for entrusting us with today's mission. For those of you following along, you'll know that this mission marks our 27th of the year. Congratulations to the SpaceX team. We're just in March, and we're already launched in partnership with NASA missions like Axiom 3, Cygnus, and PACE, Intuitive Machines, Crew 8, and more. You can check spacex.com/launches for up-to-date missions and schedules. But that will do it for me here in Hawthorne.